Hello, everyone. My name is Mafi Asilam, and I will be reporting about various topics ranging from bureaucracy and issues and concerns in public administration. So, let me first share with you my slide. Our first topic is bureaucracy and bureaucratic power. So, let's start this discussion in an unconventional way. Let's start with when instead of what. So, when did bureaucracy became relevant and famous in our society? So, in the historical perspective, and according to various scholars and research publications, bureaucracy existed since the civilization period, withstanding and enduring millennia in the world. So, bureaucracy is not a new topic. However, it gained a more strong and dominant threshold after the World War II in 1945 due to the rise of capitalism. Capitalism that replaced the caste system. Okay, so what is caste system? So caste system is it was practiced way before. It's about succession based on hereditary. So kung kamag-anak ka or like in monarchy, di ba? Sinong pumapalit sa hari? Yung kanyang anak. Ganyan. So it's quite different from in capitalism or in our new world, in this bureaucratic world where we elect leaders, no? And in the civil service system, we hire those eligible civil servants, no? Not those who are uh, family with those in power. So in theory, ganon, di ba? I don't know in practice. Okay, so let's go back to our discussion. So at present, bureaucracy still maintains its allure as compared to adhocracy. So adhocracy is the opposite of bureaucracy. Adhocracy means there is no system. It's complete anarchy, walang rules, wala. So it's the opposite of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy which is within the bounds of formalism or with admin laws. Okay? So now what comes to your mind when you hear the word bureaucracy? Okay. So isipin niyo muna. Ano bang naiisip nyo kapag naririnig nyo yung bureaucracy na word? Or kapag may nagsasabi na, ay, ganyan talaga kasi bureaucratic ang ating sistema. So maybe you heard may positive, may negative connotations. So in this discussion, um, let's have a benefit of the doubt muna. So, dyan muna yan sa utak nyo, yung kung ano man na naisip nyo sa about bureaucracy. And allow me to discuss to you what is bureaucracy and bureaucratic power, no, in theory. Okay? So, the definition. What is bureaucracy? So, it came from the borrowed French word bureaucracy, okay? A combination of bureau, which means desk, and krati, a suffix denoting a kind of government. So in layman's term, bureaucracy pertains to a system of administration runs mostly by state officials, non-elected, through adherence to the rule of law and hierarchical structure. So saan nyo to makikita, yung bureaucracy? Pumasok kayo sa isang government facility. Pumasok kayo sa isang government building at doon nyo makikita yung mga cubicles, yung may mga kada offices may mga desks at may mga frontline officers na mag entertain sa inyo. Tapos paiba-iba yung mga departamento at kung depende sa kung ano yung need nyo, doon kayo pupunta sa specific office. So that's bureaucracy. Okay, and uh, I would also want to highlight that sinabi dito, it's mostly run by state officials non-elected. However, there's this term, decentralization, which gives power din naman sa mga elected officials. Like, halimbawa sa LGU official, yung mayor, no? Siya yung nagli-lead sa sa LGU na hawak niya. So, elected siya, hindi naman siya non-elected, elected siya. However, he or she is still part of the bureaucracy in the bureaucratic government, and he or she handles power, no, bureaucratic power. Okay. So Max Weber, so he is a German sociologist who was the foremost theorist of bureaucracy. So ito yung definition niya ng bureaucracy. So according to Weber, bureaucracy is a specific form of organization defined by complexity, division of labor, permanence, professional management, hierarchical coordination and control, strict chain of command, and legal authority. So in this definition, binanggit na ni Weber yung mga important or significant elements of what makes a bureaucracy, okay? Such as the division of labor, no? Coordination and control, strict chain of command, and legal authority. So yun yung mga keywords on how you define bureaucracy. So what are the elements of bureaucracy? First, we have jurisdictional competency or the division of labor. So if you observe in the structure of our government, there are different departments handling different uh, issues, no, and concerns. Halimbawa, ako, isa akong farmer at may concern ako sa agricultural issue or concern. So, saan ako pupunta? Pupunta ba ako sa CHED or pupunta ako sa DA or Department of Agriculture? So, I have to go to the Division of Department of Agriculture. Or sa isang opisina, for instance, magre-reimburse ako ng voucher ko. So, saan ako pupunta na office? So, maraming offices sa isang organization or agency. So, pupunta ako sa FMS, sa accounting. Hindi naman ako pupunta sa HR, no? Or sa OSAS or kung saan man. Okay? There is division of labor. Now, second, we have hierarchy, command and control. So sa bawat organization or agency, merong head of agency, correct? For instance, in the soup context here in the BESMSCAT, yung head of agency is the elected president. Okay. So, under niya yung lahat ng mga employees. Okay? Third is continuity. So, what is continuity in bureaucracy? In a bureaucratic organization, if you've observed, puro siya papel. Lahat ng transactions, black and white. May narinig kasi ako niyan dati, no? Parang, uh, para daw legit or talagang utos yon na susundin, dapat daw lahat naka-black and white, may papel. So continuity is connected with this concept of documentations, paper documentations, recording, filing of documents for continuity. Okay. Para may mga records of the past na pwedeng magamit yung mga sa archive, pwedeng magamit ng present and ng future. Now, next, we have professionalization or expertise. So, paano tayo permanent na nagkakaroon ng item sa isang or plantilla item sa isang government agency or organization? Ano yung hinahanap? Eligibility, CSC eligibility, professional or non-professional, depending on ano yung ina-applyan mo. Kung administrative officers or administrative assistants, yung pang level 1. Okay? So it's based on expertise, no? Professionalization by merit. And lastly, have rules and personality. Okay? So to maintain the organization, uh, the command in the agency, there must be rules. Ano ba yung mga rules? Yan yung mga regulatory rules from regulatory bodies like COA or DBM. Then, meron mga internal memoranda about certain policy or kung ano man ang uh, i-implement ng head of agency. So, ganon. Kaya nagkakaroon ng impersonality because rules, yun yung fina-follow. Ano nga yun? Yung sikat ngayon eh. Yung dahil kay Rafi Tulfo, uh, there's a legal maxim na sinasabi rules are parang the law may be harsh but it is the law. Parang ganon. So, pwede bang i-bend ang law? So, in the theoretical concept of bureaucracy, impersonal yung mga batas. Kailangan silang sundin. So, it may be harsh, it can be harsh, walang consideration, pero rules are rules. Kailangan sundin. Unless i-revise or mag-implement ng bagong rules about it, no? To repeal the previous law. Okay? So first we have the jurisdictional competency or the division of labor. Bureaucratic organization is broken down into different units, each having their own set of roles and responsibilities. So as for myself, I belong to the information unit. So yun yung unit ko sa agency namin. So yun yung division of labor ko. And the division of labor enables units and individuals within an organization to master details and skills to turn into routine. Okay? So, since nasa information unit ako, um, it is imperative that I know the routines, no? The activities and the responsibilities na nandoon sa office ko. Okay? Second is hierarchy, command, and control. So bureaucratic authority is organized hierarchically with responsibility taken at the top and delegated with decreasing discretion below. So it is the glue that holds together diversity and prevents units from exercising unchecked discretion. It also prevents organizational parochialism due to limited jurisdictional competencies. Okay. So there is command and control. Merong nagko-command, no, my head of agency because of the different units, different offices. So may diversity kasi ng mga units. So in order for to unite it, no, there should be a head that can control all offices and units despite the division of labor. Okay? So this prevents parochialism, yung mga faction-faction sa mga offices or units na minsan kasi ano na eh, parang halimbawa, isang unit sila, tapos parang sila-sila lang. Tapos wala silang coordination or collaboration with other units. So nagkakaroon ng disruption sa organization. Okay. So nagkakanya-kanya, parang ganyan. Third is continuity. So, like I said kanina, this refers to records and files of an organization which provide organizational memory, thereby enabling it to follow precedent and standard operating procedures despite change in leadership. So it is vital to maintain the organization's identity, culture, and independence to leadership change. So mahalaga yung pag-archive ng mga documents. Kasi minsan pag may nawawalang documents, yun, naapektuhan yung continuity ng organization. Hindi na alam kung saan ba magsisimula. Next is professionalization or expertise. So it vests in the core of civil servants whose positions have generally been obtained through the passage of tests based upon merit. Okay. So we enter the government service through the Civil Service Commission, no? Through possessing eligibility, professional or non-professional eligibility. Next is rules or impersonality. So the lifeblood of bureaucratic organization, providing a rational and continuous basis for procedures and operations, ay mga batas. Rules are essential in maintaining order and to prevent arbitrary decisions in an organization. So, bureaucracy is about rules. It's about organization, hierarchy, command and control. So, without rules, there's no bureaucracy. Okay? So, yun. Its rules are the lifeblood of bureaucratic organization. So, now let's have another topic. So, what is bureaucratic power? So let's review the six types of power muna. This is from French and Raven, 1959. So we have the coercive power, threatening or using punishment. Reward power, the ability to control and mediate reward. Legitimate power, having legitimate rights to control others. Referent power, association with powerful people. Expert power, knowledge and skills. Informational power, more information, more power. So ano dito yung power ng bureaucracy? So bureaucratic power has all six powers. Bureaucratic power pertains control over resources to establish its objectives and attain them efficiently and effectively. Bureaucratic power also pertains to the inevitable expansion of bureaucracy at present time despite its criticisms and pitfalls. So lahat yan na power, meron ang bureaucratic power. So it can threaten, it can punish, it can control or mediate reward, and it has legitimate rights to control others, di ba? And association with powerful people, uh, it has a pool of human resource with knowledge and skills, and it gathers information, more power. So that is bureaucratic power. So why is bureaucracy powerful? So let's have the first reason for it. So bureaucracy is powerful because it provides certain values, including hierarchy, impersonality, and expertise. So first muna tayo, hierarchy. So it originates from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In an organization, hierarchy refers to superior and subordinate relationship in which subordinate expects something from its superior and vice versa. This is the hierarchy is the way to control. May boss, may empleyado, may leader, may follower. Mga ganong uh, ano, mga ganong type of relationship. Now, impersonality. Rules and regulations create independence for the nature of bureaucracy, making it impersonal. Impersonal decisions create quality for the organization and efficiency to operations, contrary to decisions made with attached personal sentiment and relations. So this is rules are rules. The law may be harsh, but it is the law. So that's why it's impersonal kasi decisions are made based on rules and not based on emotions or other sentimental values or anything. And next is expertise. So bureaucratic power or bureaucracy is powerful because of expertise. A bureaucrat is expected to have adequate training to perform his or her job effectively and efficiently to meet the demand of work. So aside from the eligibility from the civil service, tinitingnan din yung experience, work experience, and mga skills na meron ang isang bureaucrat or isang civil servant. So, yun yung unang reason. Bureaucracy is powerful because of hierarchy, personality, and expertise. Second, Bureaucracy is powerful because it maintains and enhances the political and economic system or regime of power. So, the hierarchical structure and division of labor in a bureaucracy helps leaders of a regime to control and manage the subordinates' work. Okay, so in an organization, sa bawat offices and units, meron din silang mga unit heads, no? So that's why subordinates are still nasa check and balance din naman yung mga works ng mga subordinates. Okay. Oh, isa pa. Bureaucracy is powerful because it generates operational values which are created in the workplace to satisfy bureaucratic ends. Okay. So same lang sila nung pangalawa. Pangalawa siya. Third, bureaucracy is powerful because it provides stability and continuity, especially against the backdrop of unprecedented and unpredictable of a political system. Okay, bureaucracy assists in holding power and stability against chaos, political crisis, and instability of leadership. So, meron ditong example, a case of India's government in 1950s to 1970s. So, this is when India, the India, the country, India, um, nagpalit sila ng sistema from caste system to uh, democratic or bureaucratic system. So, yung bureaucracy, dahil sa bureaucracy, na-preserve yung sa political crisis nila and instability of leadership because there is stability and continuity in bureaucratic system. So, they applied the bureaucratic system in their government, which helps them kept afloat from the political crisis na nangyayari sa changes sa India's government. Fourth is the bureaucracy is powerful because it is a useful tool to manage and control a great number of people who share given objective and pursue that objective. Bureaucracy is a control instrument and a control instrument without comparison. It illustrates its power through bureaucratism, which means if there is any change that can threaten the status of bureaucracy, it resolutely opposes that change because control is the source of power for bureaucratic organizations. Okay? And we have, ba't hindi ko ito binago? Number five, bureaucracy is powerful because it is politics. Governmental decisions and actions develop based on the negotiation and bargaining among different sectors. So there is political in that matter. The decisions of the government often reflect a compromise made by various bureaucratic agencies. So sometimes, or ngayon, politicians use bureaucracy to achieve power. Politicians tend to act as managers running a business. So there is political in a manner in which bureaucracy operates. For instance, in making decisions nga. So there is consultations, no, in reaching consensus. So minsan, kailangan yung political will or kung ano man yung majority na ang gusto ng majority. Yun yung nananalo. Okay? So what are the criticisms and weaknesses of bureaucracy? So marami. Unresponsive and lethargic, excessive rules, maraming mga batas, maraming sinusunod. So, minsan nagiging unresponsive na sila sa mga stakeholders or clientels. Lack of discretion kasi there is a tight command and control system. So, hindi na nag-exercise ng discretionary power yung mga unit heads kasi naghihintay na lang sa kung ano yung sasabihin ng head of agency because they want to shirk responsibility. They don't want uh, to share the burden kung halimbawa magkamali or ganyan. So, might as well maghintay na lang sa kung ano sasabihin ng head of agency kaysa sila yung mag-una-una. Ganun. Undemocratic. Undemocratic daw. Incompetent. Rigid and slow due to paperwork and various permissions approvals needed to implement a project or a plan. So, sa mga nagsisirculate na mga letter of approval, ilang signatures ba ang kailangan mo para ma-approve yung request mo? Ilang signatures ba dapat na mag-reflect sa isang papel, na isang document, to make it official or approved? So, sa ease of doing business, diba, limit lang dapat sa 3 na signatories sa isang document. Pero, nasusunod ba? Hmm, di ko alam. Routinary. So, there's this continuity kasi in bureaucratic organization eh. Yung trabaho is routinary na siya. Paano siya naging routinary? Eh, pareho lang naman ang core functions mo ng 2020 sa ngayon compared to 2025. Same naman ang core functions mo, support functions. Ano ba, nagbago? Eh di sanay na sanay ka na, expert ka na, master ka na. Okay, so it's became routinary na. It's part of your job, di ba? So it became unimaginative. Wala na yung innovation, creative minds. Parang wala siyang lugar sa bureaucratic organization. Okay, kasi mas mahalaga yung effectiveness and efficiency in delivering your functions reflected in your IPCR. Kung wala sa IPCR, anong value nun? And last is not open for public scrutiny or lack transparency. So there's still this administrative secrecy is still a norm as of today. Like open secret siya. Halimbawa, sa isang resident, normal resident, tanungin mo, ano ba yung process ng pagpasa ng budget ng national budget sa Pilipinas? Alam ba nila? I mean, if you Googled it and study it, or magtanong ka sa DBM, sasagutin naman nila. It's not a secret. However, can it be understood by an ordinary citizen? Hindi. So there's still, not open for public scrutiny. Or halimbawa naman dito, yung mga decision-making, meetings, or anything dito sa agency, hindi naman siya nila live stream. Or wala namang audience. Yung mga internal employees or personal lang naman yung nakakaalam. So yun. So it lacks transparency. Now, let's have another topic. Equity versus equality. So equality, I'm familiar with this, or we are all familiar with this. It refers to providing the same level of opportunity and assistance to all segments of society, such as races and genders. Okay, and this term, equity, this is new to me, but equity daw refers to providing various levels of support and assistance depending on specific needs and abilities. So I researched this picture, no, and got this from Google. So, ito daw yung equality. As you can see, pareho silang binigyan ng tigi-isang patungan, box for patungan nila. So, that's equality. But, okay ba ang resulta? Nakakapanood ba? Or yung naka-blue lang yung nakakapanood at medyo nahihirapan yung naka-red pero nakakapanood siya. Pero yung naka-violet, hindi. Wala siyang napapanood. Now, for equity naman, because equity is providing various levels of support and assistance depending on specific needs and abilities. So since pinakamaliit si Violet, yung naka-violet, so yung naka-blue, hindi na niya binigyan ng box kasi nakikita niya na eh. Hindi niya na kailangan ng box for patungan. Yung naka-red, kailangan niya ng isa, so binigyan siya. And yung naka-violet, since siya yung pinakamaliit, and kung bibigyan mo lang siya ng isang box, hindi pa rin siya makakita ng game. So binigyan siya ng dalawa na box na patungan, na boxes na patungan para makakita siya. So, equity, lahat sila nakakakita na. Okay? So, in public administration, equality means delivering the same standard of services to everyone, while equity involves adapting those services to meet the specific needs of different communities and individuals. While equality is foundational, public administrators are increasingly focused on achieving equity to address historical and systemic injustices. So, equality in public administration. So, the principle of equality ensures that public services are delivered without discrimination based on factors like gender, race, religion, or socioeconomic status. So, examples, voting rights, equal access to employment, yung equal opportunity, di ba? And standardized services. Now, for equity, no, that recognizes equal treatment does not always produce fair outcomes due to existing disparities. So, it requires public administrators to understand and address the unique needs of different groups. Examples, tailored library services, okay, affirmative action in hiring. So, historically marginalized groups by actively working to overcome barriers to employment that they are disproportionately face. So may mga policies para matulungan yung mga marginalized groups no in the hiring process. And responsive public health. Public health officials addressing as an epidemic might allocate more funding and personnel to underserved communities where healthcare access is limited compared to those na may healthcare facilities and sa mga hindi naman far-flung areas, no? Yung mga progressive cities. So, mas more funding dapat dun sa mga undeserved or marginalized communities for health response. Okay, so here is a box or table of comparison. So, we have here the feature, the equality and equity. So for the goal, equality promotes fairness by treating everyone the same. Equity promotes fairness then by treating people based on their individual needs. Method for equality, give everyone the exact same resources and opportunities regardless of individual circumstances. But for equity, the method is to allocate resources and opportunities based on an individual's unique situation. Now, for the recognition of differences, equality overlooks individual differences and circumstances. Sa mata kasi ng equality, pantay-pantay lahat, regardless kung ano yung unique or personal circumstance ng isang tao, no? But for equity, acknowledges that not everyone starts from the same place and faces different challenges. Now, for the outcome, equality can still result in unequal outcomes because it doesn't address underlying disadvantages. While in equity, it aims to produce equal outcomes by addressing existing imbalances. And for examples, we have here for equality, a school district giving the same amount of funding to every school regardless of differing community needs. But if it's in the equity principle, a school district allocating more resources to undeserved schools to help them meet the same standards as wealthier districts. Okay? So now let's have transparency versus confidentiality. So transparency refers to the practice of being open and honest with relevant information. It involves sharing timely and easily understandable details with those who are affected by decisions or actions. So we have FOI, Freedom of Information Bill. So kapag may mga inquiry na pwede namang masagot, sinasagot. And ano pa mga pwedeng i-transparency? Ay, naalala ko lang, meron si Senator Bam Aquino ng pinopropose na a transparency bill on the budget of, yun sa pag-propose ng budget. So, blockchain the budget bill, yung ganon, yung lahat ng mga ini-insert, ina-amend, o nasa line items sa national budget ay nakalagay sa blockchain, which can be accessible by all. Hindi lang sila-sila lang or yung media lang. Lahat pwede maka-access. Okay? So that's transparency for you. Now, what are the benefits of transparency? So it builds trust. When people feel that decisions are made openly, they are more likely to trust the individuals or institutions involved. Promotes accountability. Being transparent makes it easier to track and verify actions, ensuring that leaders and organizations can be held responsible. Kasi alam nila o sino talaga nito? Sino nag-insert ng budget na ganito? O, di ba? Kung may transparency, may pananagutan, may accountable person. Fosters collaboration, open communication helps teams work together more effectively and can improve both employee and customer satisfaction. And discourages misconduct. So a transparent environment can help deter unethical behavior by bringing it into the open. So wala yung mga under the table transactions or kung ano-ano pa man na mga anomalies na mga bawal pero ginagawa. Okay. However, there are risks of over transparency. So hindi naman kasi lahat pwede mong i-open sa publiko, like your private information, di ba? Ano yung mga pwede? Yung pag-greet ng mga happy birthday, ganyan. Dapat with consent yan, or yung mga congratulatory posts sa tarpaulins. Kasi may iba na ayaw namang i-display yung pangalan nila. Like, or birthday nila na nalalaman na, birthday niya pala sa ganito, ganyan. No, dapat everything is with consent. So, ano ba yung mga risks? One, information overload. Sharing too much is not good. So, it overwhelms people and it create confusion. Hindi na alam kung ano uunahin, ano yung paniniwalaan, ano yung priority, ano yung tama sa mali. Hindi na alam. Overloaded na. Liability issues. Relieving sensitive or private information. Ito yung sinasabi ko. It can lead to legal problems, privacy breaches, and reputational damage. Then, we have increased anxiety. In situations like a merger, excessive transparency can create uncertainty and anxiety among employees. So, hindi tama yung over-transparency. So, there are information or data na hindi dapat ina-out sa publiko. So, it's confidential or sensitive. Okay? So, now we go to confidentiality. Ito naman. Refers to the ethical or legal obligation to protect sensitive information from unauthorized disclosure. So, ano yung mga sensitive information? Names. Yung mga personal identification na pwedeng ma-identify ka. Names, birthday, yun. Address mo, yan. SALN mo, hindi naman yun pwedeng iwas-iwas lang din sa open. Kailangan may waiver pa yan or yung ina-allow mo, di ba, na i-access. PDS mo, mga ganyan. So, benefits of accountability. Sorry. Benefits of confidentiality. So, in confidentiality kasi, there is still accountability. For instance, ang pinapasa nating mga salan at PDS sa HR, it should be na confidential lang within the HR office. So, may accountability doon na they have to keep it private. No? Hindi nila dapat chismis. Baka naman kasi meron kayong parang nakakatakot kung meron kayong HR na nagpasa ka ng SALN tapos chinismis na lumaki yung SALN value, yung money mo or yung value ng asset mo. Ganyan, ganyan. So, that's wrong. No? So, in confidentiality, there's accountability. So, in confidentiality, there is protect sensitive data, maintains trust na wala namang leakage na nangyayari, and or being misused yung mga information na sinasubmit nila, and encourages participation. In context like workplace investigations, ganyan, confidentiality can protect witnesses and complainants from retaliation and encourage participation. So what are the risks of under confidentiality? Erosion of trust. Kung may nag-leak lang dyan, kahit konting information, meaning hindi talaga siya secure, hindi siya confidential. So, it can permanently damage a person's reputation. Misinformation and rumors. If a process is too secretive, speculation can fill the void, creating a toxic environment. Yung maghihingi ka lang ng data or maghihingi ka lang ng previous memo, tapos sasabihan ka na confidential, ganyan. Ano yun, 'di ba? Too secretive na. and decreased productivity. A lack of confidentiality can lead to a hostile work environment and an unproductive culture. Kasi wala ka ng kasiguraduhan eh. Magpasa ka ng salin at PDS, tapos i-chismis lang pala, pipicturan, tapos ipapacirculate sa GC. Ikaw ba? Hindi ka ba dun magiging unproductive and magiging, parang threatened ka na sa work environment mo? Okay, so here is the table of comparison. Okay, mali pala to. Bakit accountability? Here. Huwag na muna yung slide na yun. Now, the current issues in public administration we have here, technology and governance. So, we are moving towards digitalization. So, we have digital transformation. So, governments worldwide are digitizing services to improve efficiency in citizens' experience. However, this also raises issues of accessibility for all citizens, especially those with limited technological literacy or access. Now, we have AI. So, sa work natin, gumagamit na tayo ng AI. No, it automates tasks and provide data-driven insights. So this create new ethical and legal challenges concerning algorithmic biases, data privacies, and misuse na gumagama ng letter, naka-AI, mga ganun. And then cybersecurity. So as governments invest more in digital infra, they become more vulnerable to cyber attacks. So protecting sensitive data and securing digital system is a top priority to maintain public trust. Now, for fiscal and workforce management, so we have public finances. So there's high levels of public debt, rising costs, and fiscal constraints challenge governments to deliver services without compromising fiscal responsibility. So this can threaten investment in public infrastructure and requires making difficult trade-offs. And because of deficiencies in our finances, ganyan, so may labor shortages and there's this emerging remote work due to COVID pandemic. So the shift towards flexible and remote workplaces is prompting public sector organizations to rethink how they manage a distributed workforce while delivering high quality services. Now, we have trust in social issues. So, due to corruption and red tape, so public trust in government remains low in many countries, like here in the Philippines. Kakaroon ng kaguluhan, rallies, mga resignations sa Senate, Congress, ganyan, palitan ng leadership, whatever. So, may mga issues din, mga flood control projects, ganyan, budget misuse. So, nagkakaroon ng erosion of trust. Then, social equity. Public administration must address social and economic disparities, ensuring that policies and programs are designed and implemented equitably. So, under the principle of equity, yung mga pag-prioritize ng mga projects or plans for social and economic transformation of our country. And then citizen engagement. Governments are developing new approaches to engage citizens in policy making and governance to address low public trust. This includes using digital platforms and promoting open government practices. Okay, so that's all. Please disregard yung sa accountability kasi trust and confidentiality yun. Okay? So, for questions po, just send it via GC or sa Google Meet if we're going to have a class. So, thank you so much and hope you learn something.